Trump's presidency has been a spectacle from the start, symbolized by his infamous escalator ride, which almost turned into a disaster. The sudden stop was a close call, particularly for Melania, but it was only the beginning of a series of chaotic, impulsive moments that defined his time in office. From the very beginning, Trump has focused on grievances and trivial issues rather than meaningful policy, a pattern that only deepened as his presidency went on. His time at the UN, where he complained about the organization's inefficiency and talked about stopping wars he didn't help end, showed his inability to handle global affairs in any substantial way. Instead, he fixated on minor issues, like a malfunctioning escalator, showing that his concerns were far removed from serious matters of statecraft. Trump's leadership, as seen through his actions and speeches, was always about image and self-promotion, not actual governance. He approached the presidency like a performance, constantly seeking validation through rallies where he could feed his ego. Instead of focusing on policy, his speeches often became therapy sessions where he demanded applause and admiration. His speeches were riddled with half-formed thoughts and wild, impulsive tangents, offering little substance to address the nation's problems. Rather than leading the country through difficult times, he turned his presidency into a series of chaotic spectacles designed to keep him in the spotlight. The real tragedy of Trump's presidency is that he never embraced the true responsibilities of the office. Obama, with his calm and measured approach, sharply contrasts Trump's behavior, highlighting how Trump's actions were often childish and reckless. Obama pointed out that a leader should unite the country and elevate its people, not divide them for personal gain. Trump, however, thrived on division, constantly stoking fears about outsiders and claiming that his supporters were the true Americans. His leadership was marked by an us versus them mentality, manipulating his base into believing they would be safer and wealthier if they just gave him more power to put others back in their place. Trump's approach to diplomacy also reflected his chaotic and egotistical approach to leadership. Instead of patiently negotiating with allies, he treated international relations like a haggling session at a flea market, demanding favors from other countries while ignoring the broader, long-term impacts of his actions. His lack of respect for global institutions and norms damaged America's credibility and made the U.S. less respected on the world stage. Rather than strengthening alliances, he weakened them, focusing instead on turning international issues into personal battles to win. This approach often resulted in chaos rather than constructive dialogue, leaving the U.S. with a fractured reputation and strained international relationships. One of the central themes of Trump's presidency was his obsession with his image. Every speech, every decision, was filtered through his need for approval and admiration. He was less interested in making tough decisions for the benefit of the country and more focused on maintaining a facade of strength. His need for validation was so intense that it overshadowed his ability to make meaningful progress on issues like healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Trump's administration, far from being a team of skilled leaders, became a revolving door of personalities, where loyalty was prioritized over expertise. The constant turnover in his cabinet only further highlighted the lack of competence within his administration. Trump's leadership was marked by instability, with no long-term vision guiding his actions. The chaos within his administration was mirrored by his disjointed communication style. Instead of offering clarity on the country's direction, Trump's speeches were often incoherent, filled with rambling thoughts that went nowhere. His leadership became less about providing solutions and more about keeping his image intact. His administration was a constant string of sound bites, random thoughts, and impulsive declarations that failed to offer any real answers to the nation's problems. Instead of taking the time to explain his policies, Trump often opted for bombastic, headline-grabbing statements that distracted from the real issues. His speeches were a series of word salads, which left Americans confused rather than reassured. Trump's obsession with being seen as strong also led to disastrous consequences. Rather than embracing the humility that comes with true leadership, he relied on loud, forceful tactics to project power. He mistook volume for strength, believing that shouting louder made him seem more authoritative. In reality, this only exposed his insecurity and lack of control. The louder Trump tried to appear in control, the more evident it became that he had no real understanding of the complexities of leadership. His approach to governance was marked by a need to dominate the narrative, but his failure to address real problems only made him seem weaker. Obama, in contrast, presents a more mature view of leadership. True leadership, he explains, is about uniting people, calming fears, and addressing problems head-on. Trump's leadership, however, was driven by a need for drama and division, with every crisis becoming an opportunity for him to stay in the spotlight. Obama's leadership was marked by a steady hand, focusing on long-term solutions and working with others to solve problems. Trump's presidency, however, was about amplifying chaos to keep himself at the center of attention. Instead of solving crises, Trump fed them, as the uncertainty they created worked in his favor by keeping the media and public focused on him. Obama's sharpest critiques focus on Trump's failure to embody the dignity and responsibility that comes with the office of the president.